A very good afternoon to everyone. I, Anushmi Jain, Faculty of Law, on behalf of the ICFI University Dehradun ICFI Law School, would like to welcome you all to the sixth day of 7 days national workshop on World Wildlife Week under Center for Environmental Law, Policy, Education and Development, also known as CELPID. I would like to take the privilege to extend a heartwarming welcome to our speaker of the day, Dr. Sameer Sinha, IFS, who shall be speaking on COVID-19 and wildlife conservation challenges, some thoughts. Thank you, sir, for being with us today. Along with him, I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Muddu Vinay, Vice Chancellor, the ICFI University Dehradun, Brigadier Rajiv Sethi, Registrar, the ICFI University Dehradun, Professor Dr. Yugal Kishore, Dean, ICFI Law School Dehradun, and Mrs. Monica Kharola, Academic Coordinator, ICFI Law School Dehradun. Also, I would like to welcome all the participants who have joined us today and would request all the participants to kindly fill the feedback form during this session, which shall be circulated on the chat box on Zoom platform and comment section on YouTube. Now, I would like to call upon Professor Dr. Yugal Kishore, Dean, ICFI Law School, Dehradun, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Anushmi Jain. So, good afternoon to one and all, and especially our most learned and personality of the day, who is the main key speaker of the day, Dr. Sameer Sinha, who is the principal chief conservator of forest of Uttarakhand division. So today we are very fortunate that sir has been very kind to give us this time for a wonderful, very knowledgeable deliberations on COVID-19 and wildlife conservation. In fact, for last 5 days, we have been discussing about the wildlife challenges, and particularly human conflict and wildlife challenges, and agro industry and wildlife challenges, and other things. But we have not at all discussed about COVID-19. So what challenges this COVID-19 creates for the wildlife will be discussed by our very learned friend, Mr. Sameer Sinha. And on this occasion, I welcome each and everyone, particularly our most learned friend of the day, and my Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Academic Coordinator, the convener of this particular workshop, and the professors and academicians from different universities, law professionals, and student friends who have been very keenly attending and listening and getting enlightened in all these days. So with this, I will be requesting the Anushmi Jain Madam to take to start the other events, like brief introduction of our chief guest and other.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Now I would like to call upon Mrs. Monica Kharola, Academic Coordinator, ICFI Law School, Dehradun, to introduce our speaker of the day, Dr. Sameer Sinha, IFS. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Anushmi. It's my privilege to introduce the speaker of the day to all the participants. Dr. Sameer Sinha is an Indian Forest Service officer, and he is presently Additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, Projects and Community Forestry, Uttarakhand Forest Department, Dehradun. Sir has got a PhD to his credit. He has also done many courses, including MSc in Applied Geology from Delhi University. He has been recognized by several awards, like the Fulbright Nehru Fellow in 2013. He is also a recipient of His Excellency, the Governor's Trophy for Excellence in Wildlife Management from the Government of Uttarakhand. He is recipient of the Certificate of Commendation by the Government of Uttar Pradesh in 1999 for excellence in wildlife management. He was awarded the Nair Memorial Medal for the best management plan in wildlife management in 1996. Other professional achievements are, Sir has worked for over 20 years, hands-on experience in wildlife management sector across various levels, including aspects of management planning, implementation, and policy at local, national, regional, and international levels. Sir has served in 11 different protected areas, including Corbett Tiger Reserve, Rajaji National Park, Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, among some of them. Sir has been a writer and a profound reader. He has written the first wildlife management plan for the Sonanandi Wildlife Sanctuary, which is part of the Corbett Tiger Reserve. He has also served as member secretary, Uttarakhand Biodiversity Board. He is also the co-founder director of Corbett Wildlife Training Center in Kolagar. Sir has, as director, Rajaji National Park, successfully heralded the voluntary relocation of all Gujars from the Chila range of the park, which has led to the area being recolonized by tigers and other wildlife. Sir has also worked with railways and other agencies to prevent elephants getting killed in rail accidents on the rail track running through Rajaji National Park, which had claimed the lives of 18 elephants till 2002. Sir was the director of Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. He worked on the declaration of the Valley of Flowers as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and led efforts to strengthen community participation initiatives for natural resource management in the mountain ecosystem. He has been involved in planning various aspects of PA management and their implementation, including especially on strengthening wildlife law enforcement. Sir has also worked as convener of the Resource Group on Wildlife Management Planning Commission, Government of India, responsible for drafting the plan document for the wildlife management sector for the 12th five-year plan of India. He developed the security planning guidelines for Tiger Reserve in India in collaboration with the National Tiger Conservation Authority, Government of India. Sir has contributed as a resource person in various training and capacity building orientation programs at premier national institutes such as the National Judicial Academy Bhopal, Wildlife Institute of India Dehradun, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration Mussoorie, and many other institutes. Sir, as a special interest in his amelioration of human-wildlife conflict situation, has personally captured, sometimes at great personal risk, about 20 elephants and over 20 leopards and a tiger. Sir established the South Asia's first wildlife sniffer dog squad by getting trained dogs for providing them to state forest departments and coordinating their deployment. Sir introduced the use of deep search metal detectors in India to various tiger landscapes and provided training support to field personnel in their use to detect metal snares and traps in the field. He also launched a field kit with the Wildlife Institute of India for collection of samples for forensic examination to assist wildlife enforcement. We have a long list of achievements and it will take a long time to finish, so I'll end with some of them. Helping establish and operationalize the South Asian Wildlife Enforcement Network. Sir also launched an awareness program on illegal wildlife trade across the country, especially at international airports and through the travel and tourism industry. He was nominated by the US government, Department of State for International Visitor Leadership Program in July 2010. He was a member drafting committee in connection with amendment to the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. His other keen interests includes publication. He has published many books, including he was the author of Handbook on Wildlife Law Enforcement in India. He was the author of COVID-19 and Wildlife Conservation Challenges, Some Thoughts. He co-authored Uttarakhand, A Celebration, which was published by Uttarakhand Forest Department in 2008. Sir was also the co-author in Illuminating the Blind Spot, a study on illegal trade in leopard parts in India. Sir has served in various capacities. He has been a good writer and has written many articles, papers. He has had many interviews and photographs on conservation issues published in journals and magazines, and has appeared on a number of radio and television programs to spread awareness on conservation issues. So we welcome you to this lecture at ICFI University, Dehradun. You may kindly take the mic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You are very generous and kind. I hope I can live up to those words that you spoke about me. You're very kind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. My privilege to be part of this wonderful session. A special regards to the Vice Chancellor, Dean, Registrar, and all senior faculty colleagues of ICFI and all other participants. Today's theme is something very dear to my heart, but I just realized that we've been having these webinars since the last so many days now. And as I was joking with a friend a few days back that we talk of COVID-19, but sometimes people say that webinars are the new pandemic because we seem to have so many around us all the time. So I think the biggest challenge for all of us would be to see if we can hold our attention. Without much further ado, let me just jump into the presentation. Just let me see if I can. Hang on. Let me see if I can do this. Yeah. My apologies. This is what technology does to us.
So you require any help?
Well, let me see. I'm just trying to share my screen.
Right, sir.
Okay. Hang on. Are you able to see the presentation?
No, sir.
No, sir, not yet.
So the point is that you can use the green button in your screen which talks about share screen.
That's exactly what I was trying to do. Let me see.
Yeah. Right, sir.
Hang on. Apologies for this.
No, sir, not an issue, sir.
No, not at all, sir.
Not at all, sir.
There's a green button that says share screen.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Okay.
Yes, it has come now, sir. Good.
Are we good? No, I don't think.
Ji. Now we are coming to see.
Is that on now? Can you see the presentation? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Sir.
So, absolutely perfect.
Hopefully technology will bear with. Okay. Just give me another second. Hang on, I think there's a problem. Okay, so on that note, let me begin. As has been said, our topic for discussion today is the challenges that COVID-19 presents before us. Uh, to begin with, a few sobering thoughts. There are nearly 8 billion people across the planet today. And let us begin by remembering that each one of us is a consumer of biodiversity. We either be in the form of medicines or clothes or whatever. Each one of us is a consumer. And that is a very important thought to remember. This morning, I was trying to just check what is happening with our population. And then I realized that at the end of the day, uh, we are 7.8 billion people already on the planet. And on a daily basis, the growth that is taking place is something that is really phenomenal. So this is again something, if you look at the top 20 largest countries, China, India, USA, our population growth is something that defines almost everything that we do today. And this is a snapshot of world populations, past, present, and future. This is UN data. And as you can see, how the graph suddenly shoots up towards the right. So this is again something very interesting that we need to remember as people who live in South Asia, that if we look at the entire globe, more people live in this small circle than outside it, which means that together, South Asia and parts of East Asia and Southeast Asia together are home to more than 50% people in the planet. And this circle contains more than 22 of the world's 37 mega cities. Small circle itself, and that itself is an indication of the kind of pressure that is put on the natural resources within this small circle. Okay, that brings us to this whole idea of wildlife utilization. I will come to trade in a moment, but if you look at utilization has been there since ages, but mostly it has been for self-use and local. If you look at instances where herbal medicines, for example, were prescribed, and people used to collect things from the nearby forest and use it. But it is only of recent vintage that what has happened is that with globalization, it has been a game changer in a sense that something which was locally consumed, say in India, has now a market in the US or in every part of the world, which means that the whole aspect of sustainability has been thrown outside the window. Because earlier, what was local has suddenly found a market and a demand that is across all corners of the globe. And that leads at times to exploitation, which does not really consider the sustainability principle. And the magic mantra here is mine is rarer than yours. We always try and consume something which to my mind is rarer, which other people don't have access to, because of the belief system where we think that if it is rarer, it naturally has to be better, with a higher efficacy, more useful, more rewarding, and we are able to, in fact, we are willing to pay higher prices to obtain these kind of things, even if they may be illegal. Okay, and then COVID came, and COVID was a game changer because I have never seen something like this. And my father, who's 80 years old, said, "Look, in my own lifetime, I've not seen something like this, where aircraft have been parked next to each other all across the world. There are 16,000 planes parked across airports all over the globe, having nowhere to go. And this is something that none of us had ever visualized. And what is the reason? As you know, that in December, a pneumonia was detected first in China and reported to WHO. And its origins were traced to a seafood market in Wuhan. And this was declared as a public health emergency of international concern by WHO in January. And then in February, they officially renamed this as SARS-CoV-2. And the disease that this causes is called COVID-19, which is supposed to be highly infectious, spreading from person to person. And it was only in March 2020, it seems like ages ago, that WHO made an assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic. Now, what does this have to do? And these are some very interesting snapshots. I took this screenshot sometime in April. This is a screenshot of all aircraft flying across the globe on a particular day at a particular point in time. And if you look at the globe, except for pockets around Europe and some pockets around Southeast Asia and parts of China, the globe is almost blank. This is the status of aircraft flying over India at a particular point in time. In April, something that you and I could not imagine. We can count probably less than 20 planes all over the Indian sky at a given point in time. So this is what COVID did to us. Life came to a standstill. Everybody was locked down at home with nowhere to go. And all because of a virus about which we hardly knew anything. Now, this is a screenshot that I've taken of the Corona dashboard from WHO this morning. And it talks about 35 million confirmed cases and 1 million deaths as of this morning, which is something that is huge. And if you look at the map, spots like India, US, they are the places where large number of deaths have happened. So this is something that has really changed. Now, what does COVID have to do? And wildlife trading, as you would have heard at some point in time or the other, that research has reported that the virus likely originated in bats. Then this is based on a genetic sequence, and then researchers pointed out that they originated in bats, but the pangolin was identified as a potential source through which the virus has passed on to human beings. And it is highly infectious, because of which humans are getting infected. The intermediate host, that is the pangolin, how did that infect human beings? The human beings were infected because pangolins are so much so in trade, and by reasons of their being traded on the illegal wildlife market, that is how infected pangolins came into contact with human beings. And that is how the virus came to infect humans. And what is the impact? As early as in April 2020, US representatives wrote to all the important people, including DG of World Health Organization, World Organization for Animal Health, FAO, etc., saying there should be a global ban on live wildlife markets and a ban on the international trade of live wildlife. Now, we need to look at this in some detail. And suddenly what happened as a consequence of this, this animal is the pangolin, the scaly anteater, a very harmless looking creature, but because of various myths associated with the pangolin, suddenly this animal, which is also having the dubious distinction of being the most traded wild mammal across the world, has also become the symbol of the biggest threat to human health on the planet today. And well, it's quite a shame, but there you are. Pangolins are traded for their scales, which are used for medicine. Also, the meat is supposed to have medicinal properties. By the way, let me tell you that most of these beliefs are largely myths, but they are very strong myths, and because of the belief associated with them, people are willing to pay huge prices for wildlife products that may or may not actually have any medicinal properties. It is primarily because of the belief that people do it. Now, coming to something that people referred to in the earlier slides, I talked about wet markets. Now, we need to understand what are wet markets. Wet markets are essentially markets where live or dead animal products are sold. And the reason why it is called wild markets is that these kind of products usually need a lot of ice for storage, which means that it drips all around, and and the floors on these markets are usually always to be found wet. That is how the common parlance of it being called a wet market has probably originated. And this is a scene from a wet market in one of the Southeast Asian countries, where you can see all kind of products being traded. But it would be a fallacy or a myth to presume that wet markets are something that belong to another world. No, this is something that is also there in India. There are a lot of wet markets which sell meat, mutton, which sell pork, which sell fish. Sometimes they also sell illegal products like, for example, turtle meat. Sometimes birds are sold. So we have these markets all around us. Now coming to the next thing, zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases essentially are diseases that are caused by exposure to animals, and it is estimated by UN that they are responsible for almost 2 billion cases of illness every year, which is why this whole aspect of wildlife trade vis-a-vis human health becomes very, very important. And which is why I thought that it will be an important occasion like the Wildlife Week will be a good chance to connect the dots regarding wildlife health and human health, preventing wildlife trade, regulating wildlife trade, and also strengthening human health aspects. Now, zoonotic diseases, as I said, are responsible for illnesses, and it is estimated again by the Center for Health in the US that more than half of all infections that people get today are zoonotic in origin. That is, they have origins in animals, which is again a scary thing to happen. And what is it that the UN believes or the UN tells us in terms of as an important factor for increasing emergence of zoonosis? Of course, deforestation is one, land use changes, illegal and poorly regulated wildlife trade, intensified agriculture and livestock production, and of course issues like climate change and the way we go about using antimicrobial drugs, which increases resistance and in turn causes emergence of more virulent strains of diseases that become difficult for us to handle. Okay, as I said, zoonoses or zoonotic diseases are primarily of two kinds. Uh, Diseases of animal origin. Usually the transmission from animal to humans is rare, but once this threshold has been crossed, the disease is maintained by human to human transmission. And this is a classic case like COVID-19 is something definitely that falls into this category, that once the threshold has been crossed from wildlife to humans, we do not need the wildlife to come into the picture at all. Now it's all human to human transmission. The other type is of animal origin, but the transmission to humans occurs mostly by direct contact to the wildlife species. And species like diseases like Lyme, hantavirus, etc., are of course examples of these kind of zoonotic diseases. Now coming to India, and there are certain important things in the Indian context that I would like to run through with you quickly. India, with about 2.5% of the world's land area, holds about 17% of the global population. We also hold about 17% of the world's cattle population. And along with that, a very significant, about 9%, 8% of the recorded species of the world. So we are a biodiversity hotspot in our own way. And okay. Also, 75% of the world's wild tigers, 60% of the Asian elephants, 85% of the world's Indian rhinos, which is a phenomenal thing because these animals are long-ranging animals, animals which require a lot of space. So a country like ours, which has already a population overload, 1.7 billion people, and yet we are able to host these kind of animal numbers, wild animal numbers. It's a huge tribute to the people of India because these animals are able to survive, our wilderness is able to survive only because you and me, the people of India, want it to survive and allow it to survive. Yeah. Just a quick recap of the 15 species of cats that are found in India. Of course, this is also very rich in domestic biodiversity in terms of the cultivars of rice and mango and stuff. This is a very interesting picture of the various strains of maize that we are able to have in our country. And I think this is a very, very important biological resource. This is also something that we are losing track of over the years, I'm afraid. Now, coming back to our cultural traditions, hunting was very much part of life maybe 100 years ago. And this is the kind of shikar party that I with all kind of elephants, riding elephants and a beating party and howdas and people with guns and the law who would go out and kill animals as an act of bravery. I'm not being judgmental here because, as I said, these are different times. There was a different time. And something like this, which today's generation would find as a massacre, was something that was really looked up to as an act of bravery. So no comments on this, but this was something that has been part of our distant past. Okay, post-independence, there was a liberal issue of guns in the name of crop protection. A lot of our grasslands, like the Tarai area, was cultivated and converted from grasslands and wild forest grasslands to land for agriculture. And gradually, hunting regulations somehow also lost track and finally led to ban of hunting, the Wildlife Protection Act and stuff. Basically, what has happened is that the laws have changed. Killing of wildlife is strictly prohibited. It invokes very punishment. But the problem with us as a society is that has changed. The attitude probably lingers on, which is why there is no social sanction for most of the time as far as wildlife crime is concerned. And that is where the challenge comes in terms of curbing illegal wildlife trade. Okay. Now, as you're aware, there's a convention called CITES, the Convention of Endangered Trade in Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna. And this is a snapshot of the kind of legal trade that is going on under CITES on an annual basis. And as you can see, these are very large numbers. And there's a legal trade, mind you. There's a legal trade that's happening. We have very limited idea of what is the scale of the illegal trade because when it comes to illegal activities, what law enforcement agencies use is what is often called as the iceberg principle, which means like an iceberg where about 8 to 9% of the iceberg is above water and the rest is below water, which you and I can't see. But based on the 8% that is visible, you make a educated guess on what could be the actual size of the iceberg of illegal trade. And this is how the various agencies have estimated that this could be the tune of about 20 billion. And again, very important statement coming from Hillary Clinton when she was US Secretary of State, when she said that wildlife trafficking could be of a size that is rivaled only by the illegal arms and drug trade. So very, very important the statement in terms of defining where wildlife trafficking stands vis-a-vis other forms of organized crime across the globe. Now coming to some species, for example, our national animal, tiger. And as you can see, almost every part of the tiger has a myth associated with it. Whiskers are supposed to cure toothache. The nose is used to care epilepsy. The tail is believed to cure skin diseases and all. And as I said, most of it is not necessarily true, but is there. You see, today we have only these 6 subspecies of the tiger that is still available in the wild. 2 subspecies have gone on extinct before our own eyes in the last 50, 60 years. And that is something, again, that will always haunt our generations because we allowed to happen to let these subspecies go extinct before our own eyes, and we could not prevent that. As of today, these yellow patches are the historical distribution of the tiger about 100 years ago, and the brown patches are the distribution of the tiger today. So you see it's a very fragmented habitat and all small patches where the tiger is found today. And it's all over the globe that tiger parts are being traded illegally, and all kinds of people are involved in this because it's something that attracts and commands a lot of money. So this is an image from the US where somebody was trying to smuggle in a king cobra US after putting it in a box of chips. Brave man, I must say. This, of course, is the tokay gecko that I showed you in the opening slide. For some reason, there is a myth associated with this poor species. And I'm told that people are willing to pay several lakhs of rupees for this species, which of course is a farce. And let me also tell you that the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau has sent out very strong letters to all police departments and departments across the country saying that wildlife products should not come with a mention on of prices because the trade is largely illegal. And sometimes sharing these cost values also spurs the illegal trade. So you see these examples where these kind of species are traded illegally. Birds, of course, most visible symbol of illegal trade, because many of these birds are also traded on street shops across the country. And it's amazing in terms of the volume that these birds are traded in. This is a picture of how some of these birds are actually used in terms of how they are transported across borders, by keeping them in pipes like this, where they can breathe, but they cannot get out. Okay. This is the star tortoise, and as you know, star tortoise has a very heavy demand in the pet trade market. And the star tortoise is endemic to the Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And yet, this goes out in large numbers, smuggled from our borders into countries in Southeast Asia and East Asia for the pet trade. Okay. Then, of course, butterflies and beetles. It would be surprising for a lot of us, but there is a huge global market for butterflies and beetles, and especially from the wild. And people do not realize that the loss of insects is the first symbol of a collapse of an ecosystem. And this is something about which scientists have been raising red flags for some time now. But this is also, unfortunately, a very important component of the illegal trade in wildlife. Pangolins, I talked about earlier, as the most traded wildlife mammal in the world today. And these are recent news items, as recent as September, where people were caught smuggling pangolins. The internet has become very helpful to us in many ways. Today we are communicating because of the internet, but it's also a very rapidly growing marketplace because it's largely anonymous. And it can connect buyers and sellers of illegal wildlife across the world. And the government recently acknowledged in Parliament that there are several websites that have been openly advertising sale of animal parts, and list of 106 such websites was collated by the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. We keep going out and reaching out to these websites. What happens is that when you push them, they remove the listing, but it is back on the websites under some other name or some other garb. And it's very, very difficult to control these kind of things. So now, again, another aspect that I would like to share with you, that what happens is that there are issues with human health that we need to acknowledge and appreciate. In many countries, meat from wild animals forms an important part of the diet. And this is something very important when it comes to meeting the protein requirement of local communities, and also part of their social and cultural practices. What I've described as wet markets earlier, these provide a huge opportunity for various wild species to come into close contact with other wild species, and also with human beings. So sometimes a disease that is being carried by one species jump across to another species of wildlife when the two are being kept in close proximity, and then it is able to jump across to human beings, and that is where the problem begins. Because these kind of environments, which are poorly ventilated, moist all the time, these are a very fertile ground for these viruses. The viruses find it very, very happy hunting for them in these kind of environments. And also sometimes wild meat that is consumed by communities without adequate safety, that also causes these problems. Now, what is important for us is to also understand that not all wet markets are illegal, but sometimes the legal market also serves as the cover for peddling illegal goods. For example, we know that when we go to many computer markets, or at least till some time back, I used to see, when you go buying software in a computer market, there are 10 other people trying to sell you pirated versions of the same thing. So there is a legal market, but there are people who use the cover of the legal market to peddle illegal and counterfeit goods. In this case, the problem is also that because of the number of species involved, it is very, very difficult to identify many of these species. And what you cannot identify, you cannot enforce. It becomes a huge problem. So this entire process of unregulated wildlife trade has a huge impact on the economy, on the social structure of communities, and also on the environment. Uh, Finally, I would like to conclude by saying that while it is amply clear that wildlife trade poses a grave risk to national security because illegal activities generate money for other illegal enterprises, which also sometimes are directly threatening the security of a country. It is also a huge risk for human health, as COVID-19 has displayed. It is also an emerging challenge for law enforcement agencies like the Forest Department, police, and others. An example that during the COVID times, a study has shown us that a lot of species are being poached because people are back home, jobs are gone in many cases, people have time on their hands. So crime is something that is easy for people to do. That is again something that is now beginning beginning a challenge. Now, my biggest problem is as I drive to work every day from my home on Shahdara Road to Rajpur Road in Dehradun is, are we as a people willing to learn? My first feeling, I'm afraid not. People think it's all a joke. Sometimes people will have a mask which they are wearing around their ears when they're going around town. Okay, and this is a recent picture, and I'm happy to say that these young ladies are the only ones who seem to be sensible in this whole crowd. My apologies to the gentlemen if any of you are attending whose picture is on this. But I find it strange that in the midst of a pandemic, people still find it difficult to understand that a mask could be a lifesaver. And this, of course, is a classic image. This picture has been shared from a rural, a place just outside a city after the liquor shops had opened. And you can imagine that people had a lot of alcohol. They were told that if you rub alcohol on your hands, it's going to go away. So they thought if we drink alcohol, then of course the whole system is going to be sanitized. So the entire community and their uncle is out there trying to get sanitized in their own way. So my only problem, my only challenge at this point in time is I don't really see us as a race learning our lessons even after COVID is gone. But that is the challenge as to how things are going to evolve. Well, all I can say is that this is a challenge that faces us. And it's only if we come together, we decide to go by the science, we decide to listen to the people around us who are giving us their advice, their suggestion based on solid research, based on science. If we listen to them, if we abide by what they have to say, then only together we can and we will make a difference. Also, let me also tell you that there is a growing tendency on this where we are beginning to blame wildlife for these kind of diseases. The pandemic is there because of bats. The pandemic is there because of pangolins. The pandemic is there because of wild animals. Now, I take this African proverb with a lot of respect because it says that till the lion learns how to ride, every story will glorify the hunter. So we don't really look at the other side, that we as a species are dominating the way other species are being utilized across the globe. And when I say utilized, actually I'm being very polite. They're being mercilessly hammered. This is a wonderful book called The Sixth Extinction. And this is a book that talks about how human beings are impacting the environment around us and how, because of their impact, the present age, the geological age, they're also calling it the Anthropocene because this is the age that is hugely impacted by the behavior of human beings on other species. So on that note, I would stop. Thank you for your attention. And I really look forward to any questions from your side.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for enlightening us for this phase of a new phase, that is the wildlife phase. And there are many questions which our participants have raised here. So, first question, coming up to the first question, this question was raised by Professor Rahul Mishra. He asked, the greatest threat to natural habitat is rapidly expanding. Human population, which requires more and more land for agriculture, human habitation, and other necessities. What is your opinion in this, sir?
Thank you, Professor. I think that's a brilliant question. I think you see, as human beings have evolved from hunter gatherers to agriculturists to the present phase, I think collecting things is part of our DNA. It's something that is embedded in us. If I showed you my study table, actually it's very embarrassing, but yeah, it happens to all of us. I mean, we are somehow having this trait embedded into us. Today, uh, because of science, we do not really need huge chunks of land to meet requirements of human beings, because the productivity of agriculture has gone up, and the way we use our natural resources. There's a new trend now which talks about learning from nature. And if we look at how nature uses various resources, then we could actually meet the need of a large chunk of our population by bettering our practices. Unfortunately, we are not willing to invest in that. And as Mahatma Gandhi ji, the father of our nation, famously said, that there is enough on the earth for everybody's need, but not enough for any single person's greed. So that is one. The second thing I would like to point out here is there's something called the World Overshoot Day, and it calculates how much we are using the production of a globe on a yearly basis. Ideally, if the Earth Overshoot Day was on 31st December every year, that meant that every year we are using exactly 100% of what the Earth is producing that year. But overall, over a period of time, the Earth Overshoot Day is shifting. And if I remember correctly, this year, the Earth Overshoot Day fell sometime in August, which meant that every single day from, say, 20th of August or so, whatever we are consuming as a people on this planet is not from the interest, but we are eating into the capital. So basically, we are felling the branch on which we are sitting. So I think that today we are placed in a situation where science and technology gives us the opportunity to use less and less land resources and get more and more out of it. But whether we are willing to do it or not is a question, because by nature we are greedy, we want more and more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving to the next question. This was asked by Pradeep Kumar Shukla. He asked, sir, what means and can be adopted? What means can be adopted uh, for the changes will occur if we go for e-wildlife or e-protection of wildlife?
My dear friend, I think again that's a question in keeping with the times. But coming from a forester who's now spent 30 years in the field, let me tell you that I'm a great believer in technology. But I also believe that technology complements, it does not replace the boot on the ground. When I was a young forester, when I joined the Indian Forest Service, one of the things that I was told by my trainers at that point in time was that the best manure in a forest is a forester's boot. I did not understand it then. I probably understand it better today after 30 years. Let me tell you that even the best of technology can tell you, okay, a poacher has entered, something is happening which should not happen. You still need to go out and take the bull by the horn. You need to confront the problem on the ground. You need to deal with it on the ground. So while technology is welcome, as I said, I am very pleased to be in a position where we were able to use sniffer dogs, something like deep search metal detectors for detecting snares in the forest. But the bottom line is, it is not a replacement for the forest guard or the forest officer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question, which many of our participants have asked. So the question is, can there be a uniform civil uniform code for environment protection and uniform law for the wildlife protection?
See, that would be an ideal situation, because this morning I was discussing with colleagues. We have a Water Act, we have an Air Act, we have a Wildlife Act, we have a Forest Act. So, in many ways, a lot of these things overlap. Many issues overlap. So, yes, ideally, it would be great if we can have a single umbrella legislation. But sometimes the nuances can be subject specific, and that is when a special law can also be of use. So I think it's a question that needs to be debated at length. Both have their pros and cons. While a general umbrella legislation would be good in terms of simplicity, in terms of understanding, but sometimes a special law has its own benefits in terms of implementation of the ground. So it's not either or. I think both have their merits. Needs to be argued or discussed more.
Thank you, sir. Then the last question of the session is, sir, has the new proposal of environment impact assessment contributed for our environment protection?
You see, depends on how you want to use the process. The environmental impact assessment process is a tool for decision making, and it depends on. I'll give you an example of somebody. If I remember correctly, it was Mark Twain. He said, "Okay, uh, uh, there's a electric lamppost," and he said about somebody that he uses the electric lamppost for support rather than illumination. So it's basically how you want to use it. Sometimes you want to do a rapid EIA because you want to justify the conclusion that you've already arrived. So basically, the EIA process is misused. At times, many proponents try and do it, that they try and misuse the process by trying the EIA to come up with conclusions that they already have decided that this is what it should be. That is cheating. That is not correct. That is completely wrong. The EIA is a decision making tool, and if done properly, it can provide very valuable insights about how to do certain things or how not to do certain things. So I think there's a lot of value in the EIA process, provided it is done with a degree of honesty and sincerity.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for answering all the questions of our participants. As we have more questions, but because of time, we cannot take all the questions here. And thank you so much for enlightening us with all the areas of wildlife. Now, I would like to call our Dean, sir, Professor Dr. Yugal Kishore, sir, to give vote of thanks.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Madam Monica Kotialji. It has been really very, very learning and informative and motivative. As far as the question of wildlife conservation is concerned, and such narration, the relationship between the COVID-19 and wildlife conservation and its challenges have been very lucidly, comprehensively, in a very nice manner. It has been brought about to enlighten everyone about almost all the aspects of the COVID-19 as well as the wildlife. In fact, sir, you have given a wonderful narration how this COVID-19 started and how it is affecting the wildlife of the day today. So, for that, sir, we are very, very, very grateful to you that for your such a informative intellectual discourse which you have done today, delivered today to all the participants. And further, I will be missing my duty if I do not thank all the dignitaries and proper academicians who are here to participate in this workshop. So I am very much thankful to our Dr. Samir Sinha Sahab, as well as I am very much thankful to all the participants because of whom this particular workshop has become successful. Of course, one more day is there, but the day I am seeing in the last 5 days and the type of deliberations we have, I have come to a conclusion that we wanted that during this Wildlife Week, a proper awareness about the law implementation and its impact should be brought and discussed about wildlife, and that has been done very wonderfully. And particularly, Sir has narrated it with the latest pandemic, with which we are all worried and facing. So, with this, I feel that that Sir has completed his job in a very wonderful manner, and we are very much grateful to you, sir. And in future also, we will be very happy that if you kindly associate with us and provide your intellectual thoughts to my students also, because today it was not only students, it is for general, but my students are there many who are interested and they are having classes also. So because of that, they are not capable of coming to this particular workshop. So sometimes, sir, I will be very happy if you kindly spare your valuable time to come here to this university and provide your intellectual discourse and thoughts to them. So with this, I thank sir, our Samir Sinha Sahab, and almost all and everyone, and particularly the persons who are responsible for organizing this particular webinar or this workshop rather, and that is Anushmi Jain, Vishal Bera, and Monica Kotyal. They have worked very sincerely and dedicatedly to see that this webinar is this workshop is organized in a proper way. So I'm very much thankful to you all, along with our great learned sir who is here. So I thank everyone who is here, and with that, I feel that now we should close down this particular workshop for the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your
Thank you very
kind
much,
words.
sir.
I hope it was useful, and I'll be
Thank
very
you.
happy to associate with you and your students at any available opportunity. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you
kind.
so much, sir, for your valuable time, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very kind.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very comprehensively, you have brought everything, sir.